start?
Well, we were 3 girls growing up. Carol is 6 years older than me, and then I have a little sister 10 and a half months younger. So it was Carol and us. Growing up, I really didn't know Carol that much. When I was 10, she was 16. What did we have together? When I was 16, she was married. She was 22 and off on her own. So there were a lot of things we missed out in childhood that we're gaining and making up for now. Along the way, she had a son, then I got married, and we each had a girl the same year. Our younger sister had a girl that same year. And so my parents have 5 grandchildren, Carol's son, our 3 little girls, and my son. And so there was a lot of sewing going on. But back to our childhood, our mother sewed out of love and necessity. 2 war babies, and slightly older child, a depression child, and so the sewing started. I laughed at Carol. I said, well, we got to tell them our grandmother was a corseteer. So there was a lot of this. Now I would call them more shrimp color. It was like miles of shoelaces is what I remember as a child to lace up all those corsets in the back and so forth. She didn't exactly make them, she altered them, but that was what our grandma did. So she always had a sewing machine. She lived in Troy, New York. We grew up on Long Island. I know I started sewing when I was 6. Carol can tell you what she did.
I think I'd only started when I was in the 8th grade, when we had to make our graduation dress from 8th grade out of white cotton organdy by hand.
Oh.
And however many kids were in the class, and I don't remember, but it was 2 classes, so maybe 30 girls maybe, all made the same white organdy dress by hand. And they were awful. But anyway, our mother sewed all our clothes when we were growing up, her own clothes and ours, the 3 girls. It was during the war, prior to the war, during the war, so she had to do that. She even made coats. We had matching coats for Easter and so forth.
We had matching everything.
She got a lot of fabrics. I don't know where she got them from. She didn't buy them, but she got them. A lot of wools, and she started into braided rugs, and I made one before I went off to college too. Wool, mostly out of New England someplace, all bulk. And we always sewed. But I really didn't start sewing till I went to college. And I took home ec. I was gonna be a home ec teacher. And so I got into the tailoring and so forth and so on. My first machine I bought as a result of my mother starting an insurance policy for me as a child at $25 a month, or 25 cents a month. And when I was 18 and I was already in college, that policy came due and she gave me a check for $100. I bought a sewing machine from Montgomery Ward's catalog. If any of you remember,
Yes.
Montgomery
Yes.
Ward. So I used that in college, and I sewed all my clothes for college and then for teaching. And then I got married, but I had to make my wedding gown in 3 months. I got married in April, and in February my machine quit, my Montgomery Ward machine. I couldn't get a new motor for it, so I went to a Singer place. I was up in upstate New York in Seneca Falls where I was teaching, and went to Geneva to a Singer place, and he fitted a Singer motor on my machine so I could finish my wedding gown. After
I'm
that,
still back in 1960.
you're still back in 60. Well, I haven't gotten to
Oh, okay,
60
okay.
yet. So we started our first house. No, my son was born in 60, but we had our first house in 1962, and I made draperies out of fiberglass. They were beautiful, but I had glass shards all over the place.
And a baby.
And a baby. So, we're doing this by decades now. So, our girls weren't born till 65.
So in 1960, I graduated from high school and used my babysitting money and paid $99, and I got my machine from Sears. And I took that off to nursing school with me. In 1963, I was married and made my own wedding gown. My mom made Marilyn's dress. Carol was just pregnant with her second child, and that's how we ended up with these three girls all the same age. And so I made my wedding gown while I was in nursing school. I also made maternity uniforms. Now, I was a nurse, and there was no such thing as maternity uniforms. In our day and age also, we wore maternity dresses, and we didn't wear tight t-shirts like they wear today. We wore clothes. They were smocks, yeah. Either two-piece or one. I had two-piece ones and one-piece dress. And that's what got me through 2 pregnancies and passed on to another nurse after I was done with my second child. So those maternity dresses went a long way. Then we had children, and
well, with all the girls, we sewed, and because our other niece was also a little girl. And my daughter was born in January '65. Her daughter was born in July.
No, 64.
65.
Oh, July of 60, yeah, July of 65, and then Marilyn's is January of 66.
So her daughter was July, so that's 6 months, and another 6 month was
Marilyn's
daughter
Elaine.
in January of
Right.
'66. So when we sewed clothes for the 2 girls, we sewed for 3 girls. And they all had matching out. One lived in Rochester, mine lived in Syracuse, and she lived towards Albany. So we'd run up and down the thruway with our girls and their matching clothes.
So one year for Christmas, all the girls got the little Chrissy doll with the hair that grew out of the top of the head. And so I made these yellow calico dresses for the girls and the dolls and little red vests. And I thought, if I ever see this fabric again, I'm gonna die.
And the Barbie clothes.
Oh, yeah.
She did a lot of
I
knitting.
knit Barbie clothes.
And then don't forget, we also had to have G.I. Joe.
Right.
Because we had an older boy, right, my son.
And a younger boy. Right.
So we had all those that we made too. So, in the 70s, in the 60s still, when my daughter, it would have been 1970, she was 5 years old, she was going into 1st grade. Mom, can I have a store-bought dress?
Wow.
So we had to go out and buy a store-bought dress, but she still had a lot of homemade clothes. My first quilt was for her bed. It was a patchwork quilt. And of course, because I've had all these scraps from years and years of sewing clothes from herself, myself, herself, the girls, we had a lot of fabric. And that patchwork quilt was all from their dresses or blouses or whatever, light clothes, whatever, and ours. It was backed by a sheet because I didn't know any better. It was tied with embroidery thread because that's what you did. And it lasted for quite a while. She even took it to college.
My daughter also finally asked in about 4th or 5th grade, Mommy, can't I have a store-bought dress like everybody else? And she had some really distinctive dresses that we still remember to this day when we talk to each other, but they wanted to be like the other kids, so yeah, they got a dress of their own. Along the way, I was married to a high school science teacher / that he became a community college professor. I made a couple of his sports jackets. When Jeff my youngest was a sophomore to senior in high school, all he wanted was stretch ski pants. Well, that was in 1986 or 7 or something like that. They were $225. And I said, Jeff, that's just not in our budget. So I made him a pair. It was a Daisy Kingdom kit. And he thought he was the cat's meow.
I made a whole ski outfit out of
Right.
Daisy Kingdom.
They were the cat's meow. Bib overalls and stretch
Yep.
with the gaiters inside, the flared bottom pants and everything. He thought he was on top of the world in those ski pants. So
I loved mine too, I really did, I wore it a lot. Into the 70s, then when I quit teaching, by then it's when a lot of schools were cutting out home ec and art and things like that, and I was one of those that I had had enough. So I kind of battled around a little bit. I taught some classes at Singer Sewing Machine. I did volunteer work at Extension. I took upholstery classes. I reupholstered a couch and a chair in my house, a rush seat for a chair. I took the classes and then did all that. And then in the early 80s, are you through with the 70s? The early 80s.
I'm just working. I'm a nurse. We don't take time off.
I went to work for a woman who owned a very independent fabric store. This is in Syracuse, and she had Italian silks, Liberty of London cottons, Pendleton wools,
Ultra suede.
I had 2 suits and 2 jackets of ultra suede, and they're long gone, but I did make them. And I made a lot of clothes for the owner to put on display, and our own clothes too. We could do that in that store. So I had access to a lot of really, really nice fabrics. But all of a sudden, women were going back to work, and they didn't have time to make all these clothes anymore. So she went to the Houston quilt show, whatever, the big quilt show.
Expo.
In Houston. And she came back to the store and she said, "We're going to start quilting. We have some cottons, I've ordered a lot of cottons." And she says, "We're going to have quilting. And we're going to have a guest speaker pretty soon. Eleanor Burns, quilt for Betty." And so she came and she did her spiel with her sister, who did all her written work for her books, by the way, and the layouts of her books. And that's when I really got into quilting. And when she left, another girl and I that worked in the store did a lot of the quilt teaching for classes.
What sewing machine were you using at that
Pardon me?
time? What sewing machine were you using at that time?
You had a white.
No, it was after the white. It was, I don't remember. It might have been a Pfaff. They had a Pfaff jeweler in town in East Syracuse.
Okay.
And she had Pfaff machines in the store too, so I had a couple of Pfaffs. I still have one.
I
Not
have
one
one
of
now,
those, but
too.
another one. It's also the time, in 1984, when the American Sewing Guild was becoming more established. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. We started the chapter in Syracuse. There was a conglomeration of people, mostly fabric store owners in the Syracuse area, and we were the 7th chapter in the United States. And I got very involved in that, and I became president and so forth of that guild for quite a while. And also wrote the newsletter for 7 years. It was a lot of work, but anyway, I was still teaching at the Fabric Barn. My daughter went off to college in '83, and in '84 and '85, '86, she said, "Mom, can you make me a dress for this party and this dance and so forth and so on?" And of course, I did. Vogue patterns, Dior, Yves Saint Laurent, silks, Pendletons, whatever, you know. So that's what she had, and what she didn't wear that year, next year, what she wore that year, next year one of her friends wore it, because she had a new one. Then when she graduated from college, she had to start working, and she needed some
Career garments.
career garments to work. So, Mom, oh yeah. We would go to a store, and we'd take some garments into the dressing room, pick the biggest dressing room we could, and I would have a pad and pencil, and she'd try everything on, and I sketched it all out, all the details and everything. I'd go home, back to the store, to my store that I worked in, buy the fabric, buy the notions, and go home and sew it. So she had another complete whole wardrobe.
Right.
In 1987, our mom died, and our dad gave us a little money, and I chose to take some of my money, and I bought my first Bernina, a 930. It was 1987, I still have it today, I still use it today.
Wow.
I did, however, fast forward to 2017, bought a 770, but that's after a lot of years have passed, telling the Bernina dealer in Gloversville, New York, I buy a new machine from you every 30 years, whether I need one or not. So with that new Bernina, I obviously carried on and moved forward with my sewing, but all that past sewing was all done on that 99 Sears Kenmore that I bought back in 1960, including in my daughter's wedding gown and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun along those years, and of course I was working too, and making more uniforms.
So then then my daughter decided she's getting married, so I was gonna have to make her wedding gown. Oh yeah. I did, but now she wanted some beaded lace on it. Well, I couldn't find any of that in Syracuse. So a couple of my friends from the Sewing Guild and so forth, we took a road trip to G Street Fabrics in Washington. You heard of them?
Yes.
Rockville, Maryland. We went down there, and I found the perfect beaded lace. I bought 3/8 of a yard because it was $300 a yard.
Oh.
And I used that lace all for the front and little pieces of it scattered around in the skirt for her wedding gown. But 3/8 of a yard, and I still had a couple pieces left over. But that was really pushing it.
When my daughter got married, she was living in Springfield, Illinois, and so I'm making her wedding gown. I'm living in Johnstown, New York. So I made the bodice out of it. It was aqua with white polka dots, and it had this coral 18-inch zipper down the back. It had, the typical V front and V back, and I sent her the top, and she's living with the guy, and he says, if that's what your wedding gown is gonna look like, I gotta rethink this, because here comes this half a gown in aqua with a pink zipper and so forth. But anyway, it fit perfect. But in the meantime, Johnstown, New York was a small rural community, and we had no sewage treatment. We had no water purification thing. We had a couple of reservoirs and so forth, but geodiasis was going around town. And my husband was New York State documented case number 5. We were gonna have it put on his forehead. So he's in the hospital with severe diarrhea. The wedding's like Saturday. And St. Mary's Hospital just laid a sheet out on the floor so I could hem her wedding gown while I sat next to his bedside. And poor Bob, he's pale to start with. He had a pale gray suit for this wedding. Oh, Don, my first husband, John. Don. No, Bob was sick. Don is her father, Bob is her stepfather. I was married to Bob when Lisa got married.
Okay.
So she wants him to try to say one of the Bible verses or something at her wedding. Well, he can hardly stand up. He's got this pale gray suit, pale gray hair, pale gray skin, but he just got out of the hospital. But her wedding gown was beautiful. So, and her father walked her down the aisle. So.
Dawn,
Her father, Don, right. Don't get me mixed up.
Okay, so in the 92, I moved to Florida. My husband and I moved to Florida. We built a house up in North St. Lucie County. And I joined the American Sewing Guild here in Stewart, which was part of the Fort Lauderdale chapter. Some of us decided that from the North County of St. Lucie, that maybe we should have one in St. Lucie County, a neighborhood group. So I started a group at the Morningside Library in Port St. Lucie, a neighborhood group of the American Sewing Guild. And then there was more of us from Vero Beach that were coming down to it, so we said, why don't we start another one up in Vero Beach? So there were 4 of us from this group from Port St. Lucie who started another group up at Vero Beach at the Rag Shop, which then became Joanne's after a while. So that was, one of the girls in the Stewart group at the time is now the president of the Port St. Lucie American Sewing Guild that meets at Pam's. Mary Ann Chandler, if any of you know her. Yeah. And you have 90s?
I have 90s and I have now 2 grandchildren and I'm just sewing everything they ever owned to wear to school. They lived in Tampa at the time. They went to public school, but they wore uniforms. So I'd go to Hancock Fabrics and I bought a bolt of khaki fabric and made all their skirts, shorts, long pants. All Lisa ever bought was their polo tops. And of course we had dolls and so on and so forth, back and forth with grandchildren too. So and I'm still working, so, as a nurse in New York.
I'm not working, I'm just coming to Florida.
I was always still working.
So in 2005, after the hurricanes, my husband and I moved to Port Orange, which is up near Daytona. And I still belong to the ASG up there. But I also joined the Spruce Creek Quilt Guild. And we met at their country club, and they have, it's a fly-in community, so people have hangars. And some of our meetings would be at the country club and some in their hangars, which was really nice, because they had big tables and so forth there too. But that's when I really got into quilting. And I taught a couple of things there, and then I had a couple of programs. By the way, this was one, and I think some of you have seen this, but this is the kit I bought on a trip to Hawaii.
Ooh.
Of the four different flowers.
Gorgeous.
And that's the only thing I still have from back then. And it's pretty elementary.
It's beautiful.
But this other one,
Look elementary.
Was it laser cut?
Hmm?
Was that laser cut or was that hand cut out with the
hand
powder?
cut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're amazing.
pretty
Now
elementary.
this one is a program that I did. This quilt took me 3 years. We had this book of sampler quilts, and I sort of delegated it to other people in the group, that we would take turns doing each block. But we didn't want to do it every time we met. So we'd do like 4 a year or 5 a year, 5 blocks, and there were 20 blocks. This is big.
Can I help?
I need some tall people for this.
I'll get behind you.
Is there a top side or?
No, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, wow.
This,
Beautiful.
this was done, some of it's done by hand, some of it's done by machine, some of it's quilted by hand, some of it's quilted by machine. Can you see it over here? Well, kind of.
Go forward.
Yeah, angle it.
That is upside down, but that's all right.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think it's upside
The
down.
Carolina Lily, which would determine that. I had to piece it to quilt it. because there was no way I could put that under my machine. So I did the strips, the
Sashing.
rows, and quilted them, the ones that were going to be quilted by machine. And then each one got done separately, and then on the back, then I had to put them together on the front, then I could hand stitch them together on the back, and then I could get through to do the quilting on the sashing. It took me a year to do the quilting.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
Wow.
and then I decided to add the border, so that's got a different backing on it because I ran out of it first, but that's probably the biggest quilt I've ever made. No, I made a king-size quilt for my son one year, which I sent out to be quilted.
In 1913, I was retiring.
1913?
2013. I've been sick. I have now I've now been a nurse for 49 years. I'm retiring. My last 17 years were with hospice. The hardest part of hospice care is the body relief, the body moving from the patient's home. All of our patients were at home. We didn't have we had a hospice residence. It only had 5 beds. But anyway, I was a rural, at-home hospice nurse, field nurse. And at one of the body removal times, a Capital District funeral home came to pick up the body, and they put this drop-dead gorgeous quilt over the gurney. It reached right down to the ground, which blew my mind. It was all autumn colors. It was just exquisite. And what a tender time to have a quilt on a patient's body when they're in, unfortunately, a zip-up bag. I have to be honest about it. And so I said to myself, I can do that. And so, my first 11, Carol tilted me over the edge.
I said, it's time you started quilting. Forget about sewing for yourself anymore.
So
Start quilting.
My first 11 quilts, which are hanging here on my clothesline,
Oh,
were
wow.
for the 11 funeral directors in Fulton and Montgomery counties in upstate New York. Each funeral director got a quilt, so that when they did a body removal, they had a quilt to put over that gurney as the patient left the home. They were all on the blues and grays, because their upholstered parts of their stretchers were gray with a zipper. And then I found out that one of the funeral directors had a burgundy upholstery on his gurney, and so that's why the color changed to the burgundy and tan colorations. They were all jelly rolls. I bought a jelly roll book, and I just went at it. Now Carol obviously helped me with some ideas, and I quilted my first quilt on Carol's machine, because somewhere along the way, her husband had built her a table surround for her machine, so we could quilt it on that. But then I found out in my hometown there had been a guy and a gal, a couple, that did something. The name of their business is At Home Quilting, and they rented their long arms to you. And so for $150, I can buy 10 hours of long arm time. So it took me about 4 hours, and just about killed my back, which is not great anyway. No nurse has a good back. To quilt it on Carol's machine. When I did the next quilt on the long arm, it took me 45 minutes. I went out of that building walking about this far off the ground. I was so elated, and I was addicted forever. And I have probably made at least 100 quilts since then. Our family has all had them, our kids have had them, and Carol and I, you must probably know, we're pretty much into charity quilts at this point. We just love the process, and we just keep going, and we've got a lot of stash. We challenged ourselves one year, you're not allowed to buy any fabric. Well, then about 3 or 4 months into the deal, well, okay, we can buy background, because who had enough background? And so it goes. We still try to do that.
I buy bolts of white. Then I moved from Port Orange down to Vero Beach in 2018. And so I joined the Vero Beach Quilt Guild, which I'm still a member of. And then I moved here in '23, so I'm a member of both guilds. But I'm still making lots of charity quilts for both groups.
And this hangs in my sewing room because I was the blondest of us three girls, and this was me. Or this is how I perceived me, as that little girl sewing on my mom's sewing machine at age 6. And the other thing is, we were boat people, we had sailboats, and after Carol had kind of moved on, Marilyn and I had sailing dinghies, and my father built a crank to put on my mom's sewing machine so he could sew the sails for our sailboats.
Wow.
And he also bought a
That was the patch.
Army to make the sails
Oh,
for our
the
sailing
dinghies,
dinghies.
The dinks, okay.
And he also bought a Army surplus parachute and cut it down to make the spinnaker for our big boat. And again, had to use this crank on this mom's machine to run this. So this was a family affair to sew boat sails. But I mean, we didn't stop at anything in our house. We could do, you know, I can do anything better than you. It was kind of, you know, there was a song. I can do anything you can do better. I can do anything better than you. Yep.
My son, along the way, he had a farmhouse at one time out in Rochester. And he said, "Mom, do you have an extra sewing machine?" I said, "Sure." Well, I had a couple extra ones. So he took up sewing. He wanted to make some things for out there in his house, and he had some antiques in the garage and so forth that he was dealing with, and so he still has that. So the sewing runs in the family.
Yep.
You have this.
Oh.
Cut it off. Oh, wow.
So after the, what we have called funeral blankets for the sake of giving them a name, I got hooked on Missouri Star Quilt Company. This is one of her tumbling charms.
Oh, wow.
I think I've made 11 of these. From baby quilts to children's quilts. We were very befriended to a Japanese family. I made those two girls out of Asian prints. One was born in the year of the rabbit, and one was born in the year of the horse, so I found fabrics that went to the years that they were born. This one just speaks to me. I can't get rid of this one. It's probably me, the softer side of me, which a lot of people don't see. I'm kind of harsh, not harsh. I'm kind of, well,
Direct.
I'm not soft and pretty. I'm more angular and whatever. Is how I perceive it. It's tailored. Okay, let's try that one. But anyway, I just happen to love that quilt.
So that's
That's our story. Our sister Marilyn does sew a little, but she mostly just does home decor for she and her daughter. My daughter has not learned to sew. It bothers me because her statement is, "Mom, I could never do it well enough for you," and that really, really, really
I
bothers
have
me.
a story about it.
Okay, Carol's got a story.
My daughter decided she wanted to learn to sew when she was in high school. And I didn't want to teach her, but I was working at that fabric store at the time. And so I said, "Okay, you can take a class with Betty. She's one of the teachers there." Well, I want to make a silky blouse with a bow, bow at the top. I don't really think that's a good starting project. Well, that's what I want, Mom. Okay. We bought the silk, she made the blouse, and she wore it. So she learned. She doesn't do much sewing, but she's made her own daughter Halloween costumes, and she's done she does a little bit. She's made some things. Mostly she sends stuff to Mom, and Mom does them, and she sends them back. Later.
Well, that's neat. Do you sew on a long arm now?
I have a mid-on.
I still rent. I make my quilt tops down here in the winter and take them up north in the summer and quilt them up there.
All right.
prior to show and tell, and a little bit of a break and some more shopping. We're gonna have the drawing. Did everybody get an Easter egg that looks like this? You should have a ticket in it. Yellow, you didn't get one? I have to say that there's gonna probably be a few numbers that I call that nobody can because I have a few more Easter eggs left, so let's see what happens. Seven, 554. No days.
Bless you.
7554? No? Okay. 7536.
Very cute.
7533. No, I didn't actually. I was going to, and then I found them. 7546.
A six is going on there. I had one six. Well, she has
And 7505. Seven, 527. Okay. 7549. 7530. All right. All right, so we're going to take a little break. You're going to sign up for the memory quilt and get ready for show and tell.
Okay. I'm going over to the table.
I'm signing up. I spent all my money, so I'm gonna have to do PayPal.
Okay. You sign up and your email address and how you're gonna pay.
And I'm gonna give you a 5 for it. I know, that's what you did.
Where's a discount?
What the hell? I have a 20. Oh, here's a 20. Thank you.
I'm sure she Bye, sweetie pie. Tell her Claire said hi.
Here we go. Got my cash lady. Lady. Yes.
No, me either. I just kind of, I got so excited.
Wedding, but she's not getting married till October, so that's
That's
not
okay.
gonna-
That's okay.
Yeah, but this,
You don't have to finish it.
yeah, but I don't have any pictures.
Oh, you want her, oh.
Oh, you wanted to do wedding pictures versus pictures when they were younger or whatever?
Yeah, do something when they're younger.
You could do their childhood pictures.
Childhood,
I'm
yeah.
actually not gonna give them the quilt,
Right.
because I'm gonna have their wedding picture on.
Here's my cash.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do something like maybe for me and my husband.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be fabulous. I can't wait. I started looking at photos and then I was like, is it, was it, you know?
I don't want it on.
I was thinking maybe some of our travels or some of our school jazz.
I don't know. I have to think about it, but I'll come up with something like that.
Gosh, yay. Look. Thank you so much. Anyone to sign up?
Yeah, I might do some of our travels. I mean, yeah, I have some great pictures you sent me. Yeah.
Pillowcases, are they the burrito style ones that you make?
Yeah.
So you just follow that pattern? Okay. You just
Do you need more people to sign up?
Do you have PayPal?
Yeah, see, the beauty of the squares is that you don't have to fill them all.
Right. And I think it's cool. I'm gonna do some like machine embroidery and do a dish.
Yeah. Well, I only saw it on my phone, but when you had it the menu,
Oh, yes. Okay, so you have
Oh, I remember something.
Yes.
And by 6
Yes. And then what is this? And that's
broke your pen.
Oh, I don't care. I'm sure it wasn't. It's something I picked up.
You know, I think when they send something out, we need a picture.
Oh,
You know, one of your, I could go on your Instagram and grab one. Just
a picture of that or a picture of
a picture to let them know what a memory quilt is.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll probably be
Built it up.
calling you to get a little more details on it. Okay. Just to make sure I write it. I get it. When you start to explain it to me. When you started talking about Canva, I thought, oh God. But it wasn't, but they were getting it. And that's why I said what I said about the phone. Because
Yeah, it could be as simple as that or it could be more involved.
I used to use contact when I worked for the schools.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, I'm sure that,
But nothing like this.
oh, okay. Yeah, this is really amazing. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Now, the ones you just, well, we got five.
Yeah.
I'm sure how.
Yeah.
I bet you.
Should I bring my stuff? What? Oh yes, I know. Oh.
I didn't know how to say it. It's only supposed to be about 10 minutes.
But it was really interesting. I love it.
Electronics and everything.
You know, we post a lot of stuff that's going on. Fun stuff, and some people post, you know, maybe some more thing about something new about sewing, whatever.
Is it under Mark County?
Yeah, members. So you'll see two of them. One is for public, and one is for members. Okay. Thank you.
So, use it like I used to. So they can think about just getting it.
I can use both. So I'm
Yeah.
I know a lot of
Well, it's gotta be at least that.
Are you guys?
I want to see your stuff.
Because I want you to well, I can just show it to you. I need a
Yes, I did, because I finally did.
Those other numbers were still in there. In your
I know,
book.
I didn't get that.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Oh, how sweet.
Wow. You know, it's really easy to do.
You died? You died this?
She dyed the clothesline.
Clothesline,
And,
yeah.
I just put the pots on the stove and got them to the right temperature, which was very good. And then I took the rope and wound it,
Okay.
Okay.
And
So
I
you
stuck
put
it
pieces
in,
in,
stuck it in.
yeah.
And then I for the
For the other corners, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got, great idea.
and I
That came out
That
cute.
is
I
nice.
learned that in order to get it to stand up like this, you see how this is kind of,
Oh, it's got a
Yeah.
fold to it.
so you have to,
really have to-
hard. You have to lay the first row on top of the last one, and then you turn it on the sides too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's why my 930 is what I took when I took a class down in Jupiter. And with my 930 as opposed to my 770, I can get the basket up closer to it. The needle is a little farther
I
over
wound
to
up
the
making
left.
4 of them.
I
Some
can
of them
feel
were a
that.
little more like that.
Yeah, right.
And I also found that I'm finding that there's different ropes that work better on this than would work this is
Right.
a little smaller than
Right,
the 3.
right.
No, I got it.
But this is, that is so precious with the way she got that dye. It's really, really cute.
I'm not can't wait to get it.
Yeah, right. It's- Yep, yep.
Here's what I did. See, I'm going to show you all my shoes. My mother-in-law made this. This is all done by hand. It's all done by hand. So I wanted, it's in the bathroom, the small bath, and I wanted a rug. Well, she made this umpteen years ago. So I just tried to match the color. And it really looks good.
Great.
And then I thought, well, I'll try that.
I think we had some of that fabric.
Isn't that pretty though?
I've had some of that fabric. Yeah, yeah. That's really a precious idea. And those colorations, the grays is cool.
Oh, wait, what?
I have done this. I made a library card for my granddaughter. And on the
Put pictures
shelves,
on the shelves.
it had the bookcase. On the shelves was a picture from the first grade. Another one was college graduation picture.
I love that.
Why did you do the Scrabble board with the?
I did, yeah.
She did it's a Scrabble board and it's got grandkids' names and
Right.
cities, and I want to do that. I really want to do
Well,
that.
you can buy the panels of letters from equalter.com, and my daughter-in-law gave me 2 panels of letters for Christmas one year, and she says, "Here, see what you can do with this," because we play Scrabble for blood, and so I made, I think there was 29 names. There's a website.
It's called
equalter.com for the fabric,
for
for the panel of the Scrabble letters. Yeah.
Of letters.
The letters.
With the
And-
number.
But then I also used, I think it was called, it wasn't Wordle, it was something like, it's on the back of my quilt. My quilt's got quite a label on it. Wordsomething.com, and you just put in the 29 names and they scramble them for you. And then I had to change my husband's Robert or Bob, you know, and was it Michael or Mickey? Was it Jim or Jimmy or James? You know, to make it, I didn't want it to get to be this big. I needed it to be more or less in the confines of what a Scrabble is. Yeah, it's cool. Scrabble. I have to think about the word. I'll have to get it.
It's fabric markers.
like by number, so you know. I'm not very
Thanks. It was quite an upbringing.
Lady versus
Who's ready for show and tell? Where's your show and tell? This is only your show and tell? Okay.
So that's our class.
Oh, wow.
I even did a label. Wow. And this I did, Trapunto. No, it's Trapunto. Okay, and then I did sheet embroidery, my little book, my little notebook. So, da-da. Which I don't like. So I finally, this was the hardest one to plan in my whole life, all right? The right color, what design, I did 2 tops before I went, I don't like that, that's not her. Valley, she's a beachy person, she loves the outdoors, look at this vibrant color. Wow. So. Beautiful.
That is gorgeous.
And that's the magic quilt. Magic square. So, and not only was it beautiful, I think it's beautiful color, but it was easy to do. Yeah. All right. Then I have
Hasn't been here in a while.
so here's a that's magic.
Oh, that's nice.
Magic square. And I did this selfishly because I wanted to do hand sewing while I was recuperating. So that gave me some nice, solid hand quilt. No, the bind down, I'm sorry. See, I got so excited. I did it all.
And rightfully so.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Nice. Very nice, yes.
Thank you.
Only one picture will go on in the Facebook.
When Laura was here, do you remember them passing out that paper about the coloring? Well, Donna, Melissa, and I went down to Laura's, and the lady there, she made
We were in the same class.
and then she had
that's embroidered.
Wait, crayons or fabric markers? Fabric markers. All different.
But you embroidered.
She embroidered out with a single stick press.
And then you colored it.
And then I colored. Oh, that was Margaret's. Margaret, yes.
Yeah. She teaches at the,
At Laura's on the fifth Saturday.
the 5th Saturday.
So anytime.
Yeah.
Can't agree with the theme of a memory call. I made this from my parents in 1998, so I was happy to go her. There you go. Sign up, ladies.
Oh my gosh.
That's their wedding picture. That was them in, right before their 50th wedding anniversary. That's my husband and I, the next over, my brother, and then my sister,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I think they're vinyl. Yeah, I think they're kind of rough. They're not good. Somebody else did it professionally. No, but they have to pay it. Yeah, that was, not new, that's, let's see.
From my other boat guild, all on the free table. Left over for the batch. So that has to go back to that boat guild.
The 3-yard.
That's for.
Oh, that's what
I finished today. I have a going to a baby shower for my first grade. I'm not that old.
No, you're
It's
not.
happening. But so this is a lovely. And then I retired from teaching 7 years ago. But every time a teacher retires, I send quilts. Well, I'm not there anymore, but I send the quilts up to New York now. So it's all done with school-related fabrics and.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
That's nice. Oh, wow, that's different. Oh, look at that. Nice, nice.
I finally have a quilt to display.
Hey, for you.
I have made so many of these things. I know, yes, exactly. One of my teacher friends had triplets. Well, they each had one in different colors.
It's very simple, it's rectangles, and I'm enjoying it. It's mellowing me out. Very nice.
Gail, you're too quick.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good job.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, the very first one.
Yeah, we can give it a look at it.
To see you, Gail. It's so beautiful.
Oh, my.
She's too
Thank you. Beautiful.
Wow.
That's nice.
So nice, 'cause what I did was I had a lady that's the commander of a foot building in Fort Pierce, and because she's a female, so then I said, well, why don't you all do the foots or lap foots? And so she even started a sewing, and I was doing sewings at my house. And then we went to work with her one day, and now she's doing it at the court building in Fort Pierce, so that they can have some lap foots to give the veterans there.
And she really picked up on it.
Yeah, she did.
Really good.
And she wanted they have a shop hop going on, and I had done it the first year, so, I was going on. It was fun, but it was too much. But now this girl wanted to go, and everywhere we go, she's doing just patriotic fabric, so she can build her patriotic staff. So it was inspiring.
Right. I have a rope Easter basket that I made for my granddaughter. And I dyed the rope, and it really wasn't hard at all. I thought, oh, I don't want to dye.
You gotta see that up close. You
Yeah.
have to see that up close.
That is darling.
Oh, and it's got a name.
It's got a name tag on
What kind of dyes did you use, Renee?
it. I used rip dye.
Rips? Okay.
And I put it in pots on the stove. Really wasn't a mess at all. You just bring it up to a certain temperature. I think it's 185. I can't remember. And I took the rope and undid it and kind of wrapped it. So I stuck one end in, pulled it out, and got the other color in, and then I bent it and did the middle because that has 3 colors.
Wow, that's cool.
And then
You're patient.
I let it dry. I took it outside and I put it in the colander and let it dry. And
It's beautiful.
this is a rag rug that I made.
Could you step over in the middle?
This is for my small bath, but I have to tell you why I made it in these colors. My mother-in-law, God rest her soul, we had this wall hanging in our bathroom.
Oh.
She hand quilted this here,
90s.
and I wanted to match it. I couldn't get the same fabric, but I could get good colors.
Yeah.
So,
That's lovely.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
and then because I had some left,
Another basket. Wait. Good.
and
Great.
What's the hint of getting those really straight sides?
on this,
Yeah, or the oval one.
well, this was a lot easier to turn than a rope is. So I saw a YouTube video, and you sew the bottom.
All right.
Then you take, when you get it the size you want it, you take the rope and you literally sew it on top of the other one. And you have to go slow and be patient. You have to adjust your zigzag. I think I made it smaller. And once you get that foundation, sometimes you might have to go a second row. Then you turn it on its side and just sew it like a rope bowl.
Yeah, because my sewing machine head is really almost too big to do that.
Well, this is a pretty big bottom on here, but
Yeah, that's.
I tell you, I made 4 of them. I made them for all the grandkids.
Oh my goodness.
And this is the best one. The beginning ones were kind of a little slopey, but I put a handle on it anyway. By the time I got to this one,
I've seen some people put their sewing machine in the table.
Yes,
And sew it that way.
Oh.
Okay, so it's like, from the outside.
so like upside down.
Yeah.
Oh, your free arm might help with that.
Sewing from the outside instead of the inside.
Yeah. If your dimension's big enough, then when you turn it, it'll be all right on the machine. But the first couple rows when you turn it, you have to really slow down your stitches.
Yeah, thank you.
Take my stuff outside.
She's gonna use it. We have a cart.
Like two trips, yeah. It'll be fast. And my car is right there, so.
Well, if my husband sees you, because he's taking me home, I'm sure he'll jump out and help you. Did you have a good time?
Okay, do you need me to lock up? I got all that stuff unpacked.
No, I just have to check that we haven't touched it, so she's gonna be at 78.
Yeah, I turned off the microphone and shut that all down.
And the bathroom lights on.
No, I'll go.
I never turned them on, so what I'm wondering is when I do those, do they?
Yeah, they go on when you walk in, because when I went in,
Oh, okay.
one of the things, they
Okay.
were off.
I will send you photos tomorrow.
Okay. I was a little slow getting them up last time. I had surgery, little surgeries in the last month. I had my eyes cataract, and then I had the that's what I got this lovely stuff.
Did that work well?
This one's great. This one's still healing. I got big bruises on this leg.
Mr. Photographer, can you take a picture of me?
Yes, absolutely.
No, I did not. I'm not the photographer because of particular skills. Just because I volunteered.
She's very good. She thinks it out and.
Yeah, if people would just hold still for one quick moment.
I know.
I don't know, it'll be on the newsletter. Okay. And then in September, 3rd, we have, you don't want to miss it. See Wednesday. I am. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. We usually have about 40 to 42 people, so I filled 48 of these.
Oh.
But I didn't think about, like I should have done like 10, 10, and 10.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Okay.
that's why I was pulling all those numbers and nobody
That, I
had.
would do that.
I didn't think about it till the night.
Thank you. Yeah. I fell on it. Fell on it.
You want help?
Isn't that beautiful? I got that at, I got that at, yeah, and it's, I was at Florida. And the
Okay,
girls
so
were
what
helping
about
put it
if
all
you,
together. Just give me a minute. I had to do this, the other blue,
let's see if this will help
this
you
blue.
have some
It
luck.
was hard to, it was really hard, very rich looking.
Too high?
Hope she likes it. See her Wednesday.
It's
But I
sturdy.
wanted to
It
make
won't go
sure,
anywhere.
yeah, I wanted to make sure that I got to show it before I gave it to her.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so you can walk a few steps and get your
Yeah.
land legs.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
No, Holly, are you signing up?
I have not signed up.
Yeah, do you think,
I'm planning, I just
okay, don't worry about it.
deal with it on
Don't,
Sunday.
no problem,
After
no
she gets
problem.
rid of me.
Oh!
We could never do that.
No, never.
Well, I have to run these out, but then I have
Okay.
to, because Amy's not here, I have to go to.
$20. Me, I always say big. But I think it will win.
Well, we could post it on Facebook.
They get a little sticker shock, but they'll come around. We're gonna put some on Facebook, see what we get, and, you know, I think it's,
I'm
I
gonna
think
write
it's
something up for them, it's not
new
to
customers,
Patty and Sherry.
Exactly, yeah.
so,
Get a
thank you so
picture.
much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Wanted to come
Appreciate
in and
it.
say bye.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Bye.
Talk to you soon, okay? I'll be sending this on to you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Bye, Renee.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
What's that?
Don't worry about it.
What? This?
No,
Oh. Right. Did you like it? They'll make it.
I mean,
They're actually 75.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a little. You know by now. No, but I told her, I was like, I've seen people buy a $7 ruler at bars. And they probably have never used it, you know, so.
Are you talking about my stripology ruler?
No.
Are you stripping?
stripping. So I'm gonna take these out the door, and then I have to turn on all the lights and then go out the other.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
What's that? What are we doing?
well,
No, no.
first I'm leaving here.
Here's for your.
Stuck on you?
Everybody's got a different Easter egg. Like my granddaughter's gonna like that. All right, so don't turn out the lights. Yeah. I'm coming out. If you could come up to the door and get my stuff, then. Pen. Well, he's gonna come and get it, because I got a lot of the door. And then I gotta go There's a lockbox.
Oh, okay.
Then you gave me the combination.
Okay, good, good.
So
Where's the
Joe,
van?
Joe, I'm gonna come out over there, okay?
Yeah, she has to come out on the dark side.
She's done that ever since you met me.